All right, what's up, guys? So, I made top 32 at the seasonals, um, and I wanted to kind of briefly go over my deck choices, like why I picked what I picked, and then like some tips on how to prepare and how to play in a tournament. This is only my second seasonals I played in Runeterra, and I didn't really play the full first one because I promised my daughter if it snowed we'd go do stuff outside in the snow, and it did. There was like a blizzard, so I totally like didn't play all the all the rounds last time, uh, and I didn't even play. I just picked three decks off of Runeterra AR right before the tournament started. This time I actually knew I had a whole day to play. Had my buddy over. We talked about it a lot. Came up with my lineup, and yeah, got a lot of 2-0s in here, my man. I 2-0'd Jordan. What am I? In the last round, I 2-0'd freaking Real Prism Sword, and then he won out the rest of the day. It was a nice day. Totally misplayed like a doofus on the first game of this when I should have won, and then I just kind of tilted after that. So that's a thing. Um, all right. Anyway, so yeah, my lineup ended up being really good. I don't think I would recommend it as like a staple lineup that you should just run, right? Like I don't think it was one of those things. Like you could argue like, you know, Pantheon with Talia Ziggs and then insert like third really good deck. You could insert. You could say that like that's a lineup you should probably consider running, right? If you just want to have good matchups throughout the day. My lineup just benefited me personally. As you all know, like I play Viego all the time. That's what I always hit high masters with. That's what I've won other smaller tournaments with. Uh, but anyway, uh, this is my original Viego build that I made like day one of the Shurima buffs. So I was gonna pick that no matter what, just because it's a comfort pick. Um, I went with Darkness for a couple of reasons. No one's played against it the whole season, right? Like I think people have forgotten how to play against Darkness, or they don't have things in their deck specifically to deal with Darkness, maybe, or rather they don't have things. They're not prepared for some of the cards that Darkness plays. So, for example, Viego has lots of outs to Vengeance, Ruination, like big cards like that, right? Viego has pretty much no way to come back from being hit with Minimorph, especially that Viego deck. Um, their win con is like just Viego in the mono Viego deck. I run Anasis, obviously, if you've seen my original build. But yeah, you Minimorph them, you pretty much win the game, and Darkness has a good matchup against Viego anyway. And then the cool thing about Darkness for tournaments, and the reason I do think it's a better tournament deck than a ladder deck, is you can gear Darkness in any direction you want, right? Like minus the core, you can put anything you want in Darkness. Um, on ladder, it's kind of up to what do you think you're playing against. You got to kind of go with one or the other. I see too many random cards in the deck. In a tournament, I can basically say I mostly want to beat this, and then I can ban out the shit that I know there's just no way in hell I'm gonna beat, right? So, I also uh, think that Darkness is one of those decks where mine is the like auto loss matchups. Um, I can gear it to beat something like a Pantheon or a Viego, and then I can still have a chance at beating an aggro deck just because of like the core components of the deck, like the Pokey Sticks and the Vile Feasts. Um, and so yeah, I had Viego can also beat other control decks. It can beat aggro decks. So I had two well-rounded decks off the bat. So the way I came to my conclusion for my final deck was, what's another deck that is just good? Like it's just straight up a good deck, and also will I enjoy playing it for this many rounds? And I instantly thought of Aphelios. My buddy's been playing it like most of the season. He loves it. He's done really well on it, and so I didn't have as much experience playing the deck as the other two, but uh, I watched him play it a lot, and I felt pretty comfortable on it. And it's just my type of deck anyway. Lots of options. It can beat its bad matchups. I mean, there's so many games you can just steal with this deck, and that's part of the reason I wanted to play it. And it just kind of fit this lineup of I'm comfortable with it, and it's good against a little bit of everything. Like it can beat unfavorable matchups sometimes. So get into the first deck. My Viego build. I only run two of these. I'm not trying to just constantly hit Viego into his despair and like mirror matches and stuff like that. Um, I'm trying to get as many. I'm trying to get a benefit off of just killing my shit as well. So the Nasus is in there. I explained that in some other video at one point in time. Yeah, you were just killing so many of our own units, and like I'm just trading into a lot of these smaller unit, faster decks anyway. So I wanted the benefit of having the Nasus in there, just as a one-of boss monster, like potential blowout card. Um, Also having multiple fearsome cards with quicksand lets you go for offensive kills, and I won maybe like 3 rounds throughout the day, which is a lot if you think about it, using offensive quicksand. Just making shit unable to defend against fearsome attacks, and I would just take games when they were at over 10 health, easy. Like 14, 15 health, just kill them with a Viego and an Nasus on board or whatever. I think that's something that's very overlooked. But anyway, 2 Rite of Calling, three Treasure Seekers, just because even if Quicksand like got nerfed again, I would probably still play this build maybe. Simply because, and this is why I did this seasons ago. This card is so good at leveling Viego. And a lot of times, you can play this, and then they won't do anything after you play it, right? Because they think that you're going to go with the follow-up play of Merciless Hunter, because that's a very, like, Sivir Akshan type of thing. And they'll just end, but they'll pass back to you, and then you just end your turn. They blow a ton of mana, and then this will start Viego just cycling the mist. Then they have to do something, or you just keep infa-cycling mist. So it's very good to just use it like that a lot of the times. The Hourglass at 3 just lets you dodge all the big spells, right? You dodge the Vengeances, the Ruinations, this helps you this makes it so Field Rush has a very, very hard time against you. If they go for Vengeance and just whiff it on that turn, it's not a good spot for them. It can be good to save your units from Pantheon before they get, the Overwhelm on. Shit like that. Some people are running 2 and 2, and for a while I was running less of him and more of the Icon. But I just want the consistency, and because I'm not running 3 of this, I do want even more consistency. So 3 of this guy, plus it just puts in work against smaller aggro decks like Pirates. These are pretty obvious. I actually saw people cut down to 2 Vile Feast in a lot of these decks, but I don't agree with that. Like, I'm actually shocked how many people's lists I saw where they only had 2 Vile Feast in Shadow Isles type decks. So, Draven Scion is like a deck again, right? And, like, they go turn 1 Urchin into, like, Baboon and stuff like that, and you just kill the Baboon, and, like, their first couple turns are just done. Same with Tally Ziggs, like, they go the little, the Chemist guy into the Rock Hopper, and then you just hit the Rock Hopper, waste the fucking Roiling Sand, and then they're gonna crash their 2-1, like, or they're just gonna end their turn. So I don't know why you would ever cut down to this. I can't believe I even have to like explain this, but yeah. Obviously, some people were on 2 of this, but I do feel like this is almost like I'm not saying this is the same thing as Withering Wail, but in a lot of cases, like, it's a more versatile, like I said, I use this offensively, but also this is kind of like a pseudo Withering Wail in those aggro matchups. So you got like 6 cards to deal with aggro, so that way you can live longer. This also is good in mirror match. I've won games in the mirror match where I just drop one of their units so Viego doesn't level up on time, and then like mine does, and then my Viego kills theirs, and blah blah blah. 2 of this, because he's huge, it's really good at dealing with the back row units. You can kill their Viego, and also he's obviously 5 stat level up. Con for Viego. This is something you could be on 3 of. This card, for me, just tends to be really cloggy in my hand every time I run it at 3. Like, I mean terribly cloggy. So I have it at 2 simply for my own reasons. I would like it at 3, but yeah, it just bricks for me for some reason. Spirit Leech. A lot of people don't run Spirit Leech, but man, in decks like this, like, I want to have the draw power. I want to have the draw power because I want to be able to constantly do stuff and dig into my endgame units. So I think this is like a must for me personally. Can't stand not having a big hand. Also making that Nasus stronger. This is a little bit better when you have Fading Icon though. If you were on like the 2 of this and 2 Fading Icon, this is an even stronger card, and you could almost argue for 2 of this and just 1 of him. 3 Viego, obviously. I already explained the Nasus. 2 Vengeance. With all the Shurima decks running Hourglass, it's not as good as it should be, but it still puts in work against Pantheon and Field of Rush. Only 2 Hydrovine because we're running 1 of this. And yes, this is not a meme. This card, bringing back Viego or Nasus is huge, but then also using this and then Hourglassing and then getting another one the next turn. I did that multiple times throughout the day, and it straight up ended the game. I had people surrender off of that play, off of like double Viego. I love this card in here. I think it's very strong. So that's my lineup. It's barely changed since day one since I climbed to high masters with it. I will go over this next because this is more standard. Then we'll go over my darkness one. Most of the stuff in here is relatively standard. I don't think I've played this deck enough. Maybe now I have, but like I don't think I at the time that I put this on my client, I don't think I played it enough to be like, oh, I'm gonna tear this apart and do it all up myself. Like there's a couple things in here like I chose to leave the flame spitter in here. Some people have dropped flame spitter for other cards. Um, I know some people are on like 3 of this. Some people are on what is it? 3 of that instead. I even saw people on only 2 pokies. I saw people with no wallop, so I guess I left that in there. I have this in here. And I saw people drop rainbow fish to 1. But like you want the value out of this lantern, right? So when you're not getting like some of these cards, I mean, I want the lantern to count, right? I want the lantern to give me blowout turns, and having several of these in here makes the lantern a better card. And this card's cracked already, so why would I not want to get max value out of this card? Um, yeah, so this card is nuts, right? Absolutely nuts. Especially when you have like Fizz and you can make them burn a spell on that. But like a lot of times, I was like fishing for tasty Fey Folk off of this stuff because I played so many. I played a lot of like aggro-ish, burnish stuff, right? Like I played Pirates like probably 3 times. If you get uh the Fey Folk off this card and you can like protect it with this, put this or that on it, you just win the game. Like game's over. Um, I pulled Fey Folk multiple times off that card, and it straight up won me. It beat Draven Scion for me. It beat Pirates like twice. It was huge. But so my point of this deck is that I believe this deck just applies so much pressure in different areas that even its bad matchups, it can still win. Plus, you can just blow out slower decks, um, which is nice. If you get like Fizz with Papercraft on it against like Field of Rush or something like that, you just like auto win, right? Game's over. Um, but then against like aggro decks, you do have a ton of small monsters. That's why the Trinket Trades are really helpful. You can drop an Octopus to block, a Baboon or something like that, and then also like, make that. I made someone's Decimate like 9 mana at one point in time, something absurd. Um, but yeah, so 3, 3, 2, 3. I mean, you see the list, man. You could maybe take this out, but it's such a good finisher on Fizz. 3, 1, 3, 2. 3, 3, 3, 3, 1, 2, 2. Yeah, I don't know why I just did that. Probably because I jumped around on this one and didn't explain every card. But I kind of feel like in a deck like this, I don't need to explain every card. I feel like you kind of get the point here. Like everything's being used basically to either protect that or buff that up. Like those are your 2 win cons, right? And then when you don't have those cards, you make the Owlcat. And you're just putting like you want Rainbow Fish on Owlcat is what you want. So a lot of times too, you want to cycle this into this against aggro. I will tell you this: cycle this into this, because a lot of the time when you attack and you think you're gonna lifesteal and put yourself back in the game, they're just gonna fervor the card. So if you get the overwhelm on top of that, you pretty much win. The game's over at that point. So definitely be going for stuff like that. Against those matchups, save your Guiding Touch for your life. Conch can also grab you some very useful stuff to beat those aggro matchups as well. So yeah, I do use this for spells a lot of the time on Fizz because like you can grab like pokies and stuff. But against those like Lord of the Ground decks, it's not bad at all to grab an Otterpuss and just cripple their hand. That's just the thing. This deck has such versatility. You have like look, you have eight draw cards, man, plus whatever you can potentially get from Conch. Like you're thinning your deck when you're doing almost everything, right? So and then you're just toolboxing. Like this deck just has so many plays. It's almost never the same game. And back to this, I would leave this in because this protects you from Pantheon. It protects you from like stuff in Field of Rush. Not that you'll get to that point. You should beat them before that. Obviously, this kills certain aggro decks. Take out a card. Yeah, I would most definitely not take this card out of my deck. I think a one of, if not 2, this card is great. You don't want to play defense in this if you don't have to, right? You want to be the one applying the pressure. So a card like that's really good. But yeah, make sure you're getting used to this guy, right? Drop him first, then start doing the stuff with your phase if you can. Don't. I see people like save it or something. I don't know why you do that. Get him out there first and start getting those stat increases. Yeah, and I would definitely recommend this deck, man. This deck is insane. It takes some practice, but it is nuts. Last deck. All right, so like I said, you can build this deck literally however you want. I think that's such a benefit of playing Darkness. I definitely opted to go for more top end death and destruction, but there are stable cards like this and this that automatically give you a good chance against aggro. So 3 conch would keep that in. I don't want Otterpuss. I know I just said something about aggro, but if you're running the Otterpuss package in this deck, I feel like you're definitely trying to beat aggro more than other shit. And I was trying to keep this to beat, other control decks, other mid-range decks. Like I wanted to take out other mid-range decks with this. And then I just had confidence that with my knowledge of like game knowledge and like understanding of the deck and when to play what, I feel like I could just beat aggro with this deck anyway. Aggro's kind of one of those things where like if you understand what and when to take out, like it just becomes easier, and you can do it with decks that aren't even necessarily geared to beat it, if that makes any sense. Um, like my Viego deck is by no means perfect against pirates, but I just kept 2-0ing like pirates and things like that, so I had to play against it with Viego quite a bit, and I didn't find that very hard either. You just kind of you learn what to do against those decks, and it becomes a little bit simpler. But anyway, 3 conch, 3 dark bulb, obvious. I kept the 3 and 3 of these in. Some people have lowered these, like I said earlier, but same logic applies to what I said earlier. 3 of catalyzer, obviously. This is the big thing I do. I've always done multiple missed calls in this deck. There are a lot of times where you will go Vigor on 4 and they save up for Vengeance or they save up for Thermo Beam, and then they blow their whole turn, they blow tempo, and you are suddenly in such a huge, tremendous spot off of that. I don't like Rekindler in here because I want to be getting back Vigor and not Senna most of the time, and because you're usually only dropping a unit a turn in this deck for a while, and then playing around spells, you can pretty much always get back your Vigor with this. So this card is, it's just too valuable in my eyes. Plus, not that it's relevant right now, but this wins the mirror match hardcore. So yeah, this card was clutch as hell all day. I think every time I resolved this, I just won. Like, I mean, it was like the tempo swing, with them missing tempo essentially, because they blow all their mana. And then they don't have a way to answer Vigor on like turn 5. Like instantly, my darkness is like 2 times stronger, and the game's just over. Stress defense is kind of similar to this, except for stress defense also saves us from OTKs. Like this is how you stop Fizz. I played into that deck with this deck as well, and got me some good wins. This stops the Fizz OTKs, and this is like you have one of the only decks that can just stop that Fizz OTK, right? Because of this and this. So this stops Fizz OTKs, this stops Pantheon, this makes Viego level slower, this does a ton of stuff. This helps against Field of Rush. A lot of decks that are a problem this helps with. 3 of him, obviously. The box, okay, so I do have 2 anti-aggro cards in here, but this is the only one that's truly just anti-aggro, right? This also can hit Demacia decks and things like that, and Draven Scion. I think the one guy, I think, if I remember correctly, dropped like 3, 2 to 3 health units in one turn, and I killed all of them, and I just won the game after that. So yeah, we like the box. It's always a good one of and shit like this, because it's not just anti-aggro. It can take out a lot of the mid-range deck units too. Obviously 3 and 3. Just wanted it in there for just in case we played pirates and shit like that, which we did. I like 3 of this. I think lifesteal is really important right now. A lot of these decks are definitely going for like blowouts and just trying to finish you off with burn cards. Get excited, whatnot, whether that be Victor Felios, the Pirates, the Draven Scion, or whatever. Mini Morph. This was in here because Darkness Rider is a good matchup against Viego, but I didn't want to have to waste a ban on Viego, and this cripples Viego. This also beats Pantheon. But I didn't want 3 because if I wasn't going to be playing those decks all day, I'd rather have shit like this. We like getting life back. I'm a huge fan of just lifesteal in general. So sapping life back is huge. And then the triple Vengeance, man. Just for those bigger decks like Pantheon, like I really didn't want to have to. I didn't want to have to like fright ban shit. You know what I mean? I didn't want to have to look at something and be like, oh, I'm fucked. Because the thing is, also the Ruination for Pantheon, for Field of Rush, for all that stuff. Yes, won me games. My logic here, obviously you go into a tournament wanting to target ban something a lot of the time. Okay? But knowing how weird these lineups would be because there's so many top decks. I looked at Runeterra AR multiple times just to refresh my memory the couple days going into this, and what I found was that there were so many decks with, tier 1 win rates. Uh, Even if you try to make a good call, there's going to be people that have lineups where, like, you just don't want to play any of this shit. You want to ban two of those decks. So I wanted to be able to take out, like, this is good against Talia Ziggs. This is good against Talia Ziggs. This is good against Talia Ziggs. Like, but it's also good against, Pantheon, Viego. And, like, I knew that Victor, this is all good against Victor as well. I knew that, there was going to be lineups where they had, like, 2 decks in there that I just absolutely didn't want to play against. So I wanted to be as well-rounded into all the shit that I didn't think I could always have the opportunity to ban as possible. And that was kind of my thought process. And I said this going into this. Picking these lineups is going to be real difficult because you're gonna play people that are playing, like, literally just all 3 of those, the absurd, or like I said, Pantheon, Talia, then insert other, like, busted deck, like maybe this, maybe Mono Shurima. Like, there's gonna be times where, regardless of how well you think you have a target band out, you want to be able to beat as much of the stuff as possible. You just do. So I opted to go for things I was comfortable on, and I opted to go for things that I thought could win like a multitude of matchups that may be difficult for, like, a very specific lineup that does, like, one type of thing to beat, if that makes any sense. I didn't want to, like, have a linear lineup. Not that the decks are linear, but that the lineup is linear. And then just lose out to, like, oh man, they banned, like, my one deck that has an okay matchup against, like, this entire lineup. Now I just lose. I wanted decks that could beat a variety of decks. And decks that could also potentially steal wins in games where they had no business, winning. So, that's like that deck. Sometimes when you're behind and you're getting your ass kicked, you can still just fizz Papercraft Dragon, and that's just the way that's the way it is. So, yeah, man. I don't believe I've played enough Runeterra tournaments to be like, oh yeah, like, I just had this lineup shit down to a T. Like, I'm definitely still learning. Definitely still getting ideas from people. This was just the way I saw this, and it worked out for me. Like I said, I had a lot of 2-0s on there, if you saw that. So I think I made a pretty good choice, and I also played really well. Minus the game 3, I played so bad. But the rest of the day, like, I played extremely well in my games. I was very calm, very patient. I just had fun, man. And that brings me to my next part. I've played a lot of video game tournaments over the course of my life, and I've won a lot of video game tournaments, including, like, other card games. Like, I have a lot of, like, tops in Yu-Gi-Oh! I've won a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournaments. I've won Smash Brothers tournaments. So my point I'm going into here is not to flex, but it's to tell you that I have a lot of tournament experience, and I'm generally someone who's incredibly calm during tournaments. I fucking I top 8 at a real big Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament, like, 5 hours after breaking up with my my girlfriend one day. So I would say my understanding of, like, how to control my mental when it comes to gaming tournaments is pretty good. I would recommend you not overly stress the week before. And I know that sounds easy, but here's what I'm trying to say. Keep going about your life schedule. You know what? Don't overplay. Don't kill yourself on it. Understand that there's going to be a ton of tournaments you're going to play in, and some days it just ain't going to be there. And some days you're going to play, like, it's just going to be your day. Nobody's going to stop you, man. Just because I played like a monster in this one doesn't mean in the next one I'm not going to play like poo-poo. Like, shit happens. You see that all the time. You see top players drop out after, they get lost round 1 and they just leave the tournament. They're not stressed. They know that they'll probably do better in the next one. Shit happens. So the more you tell yourself that you have more opportunities than one to get this done, this kind of looks like a giant evil Viger from here. The sand spinner. Sorry. The more you tell yourself, like, it's just a day, and you want to just have fun with it, the better your mental state's gonna be. Get some exercise, man. Like, I'm someone that works out a lot. Clearly, I train people. So, like, I'm telling you, you hit the gym, you get some exercise in the day before, the night before your tournament, or even that morning before your tournament, bro. You're gonna feel so much better. Eat right. Fucking eat right. We went out and got breakfast and stuff, or not went out, but we made sure we had food and stuff before the tournament. I got some snacks, some drinks. I was just big chilling. I always try to do that. I can tell you tournaments that I've stressed out about in the past because I was just having a bad week or whatever, and like I didn't eat, I didn't exercise enough. Definitely affected my mental. Little things like this matter a lot. And don't just sit there. Don't just sit there in between rounds staring angrily at your screen or getting upset about a bad game or anything like that, right? Go do something. Like when we were at the convention centers back in the day, like I would see people just they'd wait right outside the doorway and they would be like so upset, so anxious for the next round. And it's like you can't do that. I would go off down the hallways. I would go uh, to the food court. I go outside. I go hang out with my friends. Go walk around town for a little bit. During this tournament, I cleaned my apartment in between rounds. I hung out with my daughter. I watched shows with her for a little bit. I went down to the gas station, got some more snacks, talked to some people I knew like on the street, like just random stuff. Um, and that just keeps your mind right, you know. Uh, the biggest thing I think is not stressing and have some confidence. And then that's my last point. Having confidence. Please don't just play stuff because your favorite YouTuber told you to the night before. I'm gonna tell you a couple things here. Not everyone on YouTube. We get into this another day, but not everyone on YouTube is going to be honest with you about what lineups they think is good. There's benefits to them telling you that something's good and then them playing something totally opposite. You might not want to think that's a thing, but it is. So don't just play something just because your favorite YouTuber said to. Um, Play comfort picks. I mean, I topped with Darkness, bro. When's the last time? Like, Darkness hasn't been relevant this entire format, yet this deck put in work for me. Um, Play stuff you're comfortable on, you know? Um, Viego. Viego's been my deck since, like, day one, and for a hot second, I almost didn't want to play it because it suddenly became, Viego went from being, like, this, had diehard fans, but was, like, a tier 2 low tier 2 deck for like the last year. Suddenly in this last week, Viego blew up and people were like, "Oh, Viego!" So I like almost didn't want to play it out of just like annoyance and the fact that people were gonna be prepared for it. But I told myself like, "Nah, like this is my deck. I'm gonna I'm gonna play it. Like that's the way it is." Uh, and play shit you're gonna have fun with, bro. Don't just play like don't be like, "Oh, I'm gonna play 3 decks that I hate, but I think it's you know I think it's a good call. Like I'm gonna hit you with like triple aggro something like almost double pirate type shit. Like someone was playing Pink City plus uh regular pirates or whatever, and they just had the triple twisted fate instead of the gangplank. And like if that guy really thought that was fun, fine. But like that, my point is like I believe there are people that do shit like that because they'd rather try to squeak out some easy wins rather than play something that they are good with or are gonna have fun playing. You gotta enjoy yourself. I enjoyed all fucking 9 rounds of this, bro. No matter what deck got banned, I had a fucking blast playing all 3 of these decks all day long. Um, and man, if you can hang out with your friends while you're doing this stuff, I'm telling you, it makes it way better, man. You can talk about all the games afterwards. You can talk about other shit. We had some music on in between rounds. Like, do whatever the hell you need to do to feel comfortable, and you're gonna perform better. I truly believe. So, thank you. That was long-winded as hell, but I was very excited about that. Like I said, that was only my first ever, or that was only my second ever seasonal, but only my first seasonal actually getting to play through the whole seasonal. I was outside in the snow during the last one. I actually tried to play one round outside while I was sledding in the last one, just because I was like, Christ, I'm already giving up rounds, and then I disconnected anyway, so I was like, whatever. So this was really exciting to get to run this back and get to top, especially with you know 3 decks that I absolutely enjoy. Two of them, Viego and Viger being my 2 favorite decks like ever in Runeterra. So I loved it. I super appreciate my friends, man. My buddies were just major hype men the entire day, just like gassing me up. So I just want to say thank you so much, and God bless, and I hope you all have a good day.